Hey guys, it's Brian here from Big Idea, and I wanted to just have one of my favorite people in the world, and one of my clients, Bradley Grinnan, just have a few minutes to talk with him and really let him tell you guys about what's happened for him and what his experience has been here. So, hey, Brad, I want to thank you for coming and taking this time. I know it's not our usual time, so this is out of your day that you're doing this for me. But tell us a bit about yourself. Tell us, what was going on before you and I first met.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, and it's a pleasure to be here and share my story. And if it can help anybody, I'm sure you can. And so if you can use that, that's awesome. I've been a small business owner as a coach and a mentor for 5 years now. And the coaching part I love. I'm great at it. Not trying to sound arrogant. I just love what I do, and I know I do it well. And I've all of my clients had come for years through referrals. So I'd get results for a client, and I get referrals, and I wanted to scale. So I knew that meant I'd have to learn how to do some advertising, and the whole business side of it. So when you start a business, you think, oh yeah, I'm going to go do the thing I love and not work for anybody.
Right. And
no one ever says, oh, there's all this stuff that goes on behind the scenes as an entrepreneur or solopreneur.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, I got to start doing most of my work I do on Facebook. That's how I connect with people. And I've got a good following there and really good interactions there and some private Facebook groups. So obviously I've got to find a course then. This is a little while ago, just before I met you, in Facebook advertising. And I did. I found a really great course, and it took me through it. And when I watched the course, I was like, okay, this makes sense to me now. Right. However, it's like anything else. All of a sudden, every time I'm going in the actual step by step, no one told me there was like 1,000 options.
Right. All the forks in the road. That was one of the first things you ever said to me, was that you're like, I understand the 5 things at the top of the list, but the 5,000 other ones, you were kind of in this sort of paralysis by analysis situation.
Yeah. But that was, and so that was my thing. I was just like, okay, so I gutted it out. That's how you learn. You just put your head down, do the work, trial and error, failure, and I did that.
Fail hard, fail fast.
Yeah, and I did it. And that was great, and I learned. But I was like, this isn't fast enough for me, because at that rate, it was going to take me about a year to really get it down to where it's at least like I'm getting a decent ROI.
Right.
And so I was like, I need help. I want to find someone that will coach with me. I didn't want to hand it all over, and maybe someday I'll do that as my business scales. No. But I wanted to really learn which fork to take in the road.
Right.
And I wanted to have someone say, I'm an expert. I know what I'm talking about. Trust me on this. And even explain it to me, so I can be like, yeah, okay, let's do that.
Tell people what it is you actually do.
I'm a life coach and a mentor. Okay. And I have very, very varied clients. For a while, I tried to I got to find my niche, because that's what everyone was telling me when I first started in business. But I've got Wall Street execs. I've got NASA execs. I've got first-time authors. I've got doctors, all kinds of physicians. And I've got a 72-year-old grandmother who realized I'm not dead yet. In fact, I'm probably going to live another 10 or 15 years, and I want to suck some more life out and help me do that, because I don't know how to do that at my age.
Right.
And I don't have those answers, but I'm a coach, and I know how to help people find those answers within themselves.
Exactly.
So that's what I do. And all of the courses I took in advertising and in writing copy, there's another thing no one told me about writing copy. Yeah. They were all great, but at the same time, I needed to find my voice, and my voice isn't a, Crazy Eddie used car salesman. I mean, that's just not who I am. So I wanted to be authentic.
Right.
And I don't do a lot of business to business. I do a lot of personal life coaching for folks who have had some modicum of success in one area and they want to transfer it to another area. So I can't sound salesy, and I don't want to anyways. It's just
it's not your personality.
Yeah. Well, there isn't that. course. I mean,
Right.
there's some that are close. I don't necessarily want to name them, but there's some really good ones that.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
they all end up with some kind of salesy sound, and I don't. But I do want to advertise because I want to have as big of an impact as possible,
Right.
which means people have to find out about me, and I'm the one. If I don't believe in people finding out about me more than anyone else in the world, then I should get out of this.
Exactly.
Yeah. So of course you know how advertising works, and probably most people who are listening know. As soon as I go onto one or two websites clicking on ads for what I'm looking for, then they all funnel into my stream, and I saw your ad come through. So you either targeted me perfectly or targeted another similar company or whatever, but you came into my feed.
I actually know exactly where you came from. You actually came through a lookalike audience, and this is something that you and I have talked about in the last few months. Yep. You were a lookalike audience from a small test campaign that I had run, where I have been targeting literally coaches, life coaches.
Yeah.
And you weren't in the original group. You were in a lookalike. And that's exactly why we do that. That's why we don't blow our marketing budgets. And this is, something that now you're seeing, on your side of, we get enough data to then go and sort of manifest the larger group without having to do that the first time around.
Yeah.
So we've been doing that testing. Our first phone call cracked me up, but so
it fell off script.
Well, you literally said that, and I was like, well, I don't have a script. You had seen the webinar. It was the client avatar webinar, and, that's about 40 minutes long. I don't like doing them too long. But what motivated you to go and be like, okay, this might be a guy that I think I can work with and that knows his stuff? What triggered that for you?
Part of it was hoping. I had conversations with many advertisers who sort of coach, and they offer done for you or do it with you. And I was like, everyone I talked to quoted me these crazy rates, and I get it, right? Because
what was that one though? There was one that was to build a funnel out, and it was like,
it was $5,000. I'll build you a funnel in 3 days. And I was like,
and that was it.
Yeah, that was it. It's like I can build a funnel.
Yeah.
Maybe it was going to be worth $5,000, not with the limited knowledge that I had on what to do with that funnel. There's no way.
Right.
And so we had a conversation, and I just straight up asked you questions because I was looking for something very specific and looking for someone very specific that I could build a long-term business relationship with, where I could continue to learn. And as I scale and as I grow, I can have my own coach for marketing and advertising, in essence.
Right.
And when we talked, I also am a pretty intuitive person.
Yeah.
So I was like, I get this guy. We can work well together. And he's willing to be what it is I'm looking for.
Right.
That was probably the biggest thing is you were like, yeah, we can do that. If that's how you want to do it. And I felt like, well, awesome. I'm getting a customized program just the way I want it. That when I run into problems, I can be like, hey, Brian, man, I know you told me this, but what do I do here? I forgot.
Right.
Or I've got it written down, but when we went over it, I thought I knew it. I don't. Can you help me out?
Exactly. And it was funny because I remember the first time that you and I had a conversation, again, I don't really have a script. I have the certain hot buttons I want to touch on.
Yeah.
But that's actually my script. It's that, and we've talked about this. It's I understand who my avatar is. I understand what's coming in, and so what ends up happening on the flip side of that is that I know how I can manage that conversation. I can direct it. It was never out of my control. But you actually paused it at one point during our first talk. You were like, "You're not on a script, are you?"
I've been through so many scripts. Right. I mean, I know about script. I mean, I've been taking classes and courses and developing my own stuff. I know all about scripts.
Right. And scripts are great, and they have a point, and they have a purpose.
Yeah. But at that point, I tried to start by the time I spoke with you, I had been through enough of other people's scripts trying to sell me that I purposefully, there are ways I answer a question that would throw someone off of a script because I want to get off script. you know, because I'm trying to find out. The problem that I have with a lot of scripts are it tries to get you into a line where you're going to buy what I'm offering, period.
Right. It's like if he says yes, this, no, this. If he's hesitant, do this.
But I knew what I wanted, and most people won't adjust, and and that's not really for me. Well, I didn't want to be thrown into a large group and then. Yeah. Group coached. I do group coaching. I enjoy group coaching. That's fine. I was looking for something specific. So when I asked a couple questions and you were just like, and I was like, oh yeah, you're totally off script right now.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah. So yeah, I remember that.
But you know, one of the big things that I think you have now realized, especially as we've been putting this into place for you, and you're seeing it work, is because I know, you know, who I was targeting. And because of how I put you through that application process, I already knew what your issues, wants, and needs were.
Yeah.
So by the time we got on the phone, you had forgotten you had given me that information.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, and that's really where the difference ends up coming into play. Is knowledge is amazing, and I say it all the time. Data doesn't lie. Well, I had the data already.
Right.
So you know. And it was awesome, you know. It was that ideal client kind of camaraderie of. I didn't want to just have to be like, okay, now we're going to do it this way, and just do it, go through a monotonous thing. Because when we're doing the one-on-one coaching, and it's not the group stuff, and I know you do your group stuff like I do because you know that's how we do it, which is there's a lot more of a structured format.
Yeah.
But that's not the same as when we're doing the one-on-one stuff. And obviously, I mean, you know, you're paying me for that premium, just like your clients pay for that premium.
Right.
You know, if someone wants to work with you one-on-one, they're going to pay, honestly, a hell of a lot more.
Well, that's when it's worth it. You know, for a guy to charge me $5,000 to build a funnel in 3 days and get it back to me. All right. But, you know, then I never see that again.
Right.
You know what I mean? But $5,000,
and that wasn't even showing you or teaching you the theory behind it. That was just literally, here you go.
But I'm okay with whatever number it is, $5,000, whatever, if I'm getting what I want and it brings me the ROI.
Exactly, and that's
then it's absolutely worth it for me, for my business. And I look at it worth it down the road. What I'm learning right now is absolutely shaping my business 4 years, 5 years from now.
Well, I mean, right now you're averaging what? I think it's like just over a 6x.
Yeah,
right around there. I mean, dude, come on.
It's great. I mean, if it was 2x, I'd be fine.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if I find something that works where I put in money and I get more money back, but if I can multiply that and get the most out of that, awesome.
I mean, again, when we're talking about, you know, people don't forget, like 2x is a 200% return. That means every dollar you put in, you're getting 2 back. Yep. Right now, for every dollar you put in, you're getting like 6 back.
Yeah,
and that's ridiculous.
It is. It's ridiculous.
But it's working. So okay. So moving on, one of the things that I really want to touch on, because you know the client avatar is really it's so huge in what you've learned my process is, and literally practice what I preach and so on and so forth. And that's one of the things you've actually taught me. But is, you know, here, what was your experience that, you know, that first time?
Sure. So I had, let me go back a little bit before that, to find out what a client avatar was, because once you get into business and people start using these terms, you're like, what the hell is that? So I'm like, literally to find out what a client avatar was, I Googled it. Now, some people listening to this or watching this right now might say, how did he not know what a client avatar? But we all start from that place at some point. So I was like, what's a client? So I Googled it and I was like, okay, that makes sense. But it was like I was seeing just a flat page of what a client avatar could be, an extremely one-dimensional understanding.
Right.
So then people were using the term, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense to me. And I thought that I had a good client avatar.
And what was it? Explain at that point. What did you think it was? Like, what did you have, and what have you been working with?
I thought it was someone who wants to make a change in their life.
Right, and that was literally it.
That was it. Yeah. So so that's my client avatar. Someone wants me. Oh, well, I charge this much. So the second piece that came along was someone who can make enough money to pay for what I charge. and wants to make a change in their life.
Right.
When I came through the client avatar, it was a total game changer for me, because going through the process it forced me to think on levels and answer questions for my potential clients. And it basically put me inside their head.
Right.
Put me inside their lifestyle. And I used some of my current clients, well, all of my current clients, I took all of them through the client avatar, and there's just no way. Then you get data that doesn't lie. And I've got, instead of this one sheet page, I've got a sculpture. But
Right.
that sculpture also has a brain.
It's dimensional.
That I can pick apart, and it was awesome. It literally changed the way that I looked at how I'm going to earn business. It also changed the way I treat my current clients. It helped me raise my quality of care and value. And I care, you know me, I care a lot already.
Yeah.
But this gave me more than an edge to do that. So it was a game changer. And if this is for whoever listening, watching, if you haven't done the webinar with Brian, sign up and do the client avatar webinar, because it's free right now. I don't know when you'll decide to charge for that, but it's free. It's absolutely worth it.
Right. And as you know, it is literally what my team and I, what we use on the agency side. I mean, it is a conversation I have 3 to 5 times a day.
Yeah.
About this. And for yourself, you're now actually using a variation of that process with your own clients.
Yeah. Yeah. And not to mention, I mean, just the actual client avatar
itself, tool. Not even where it fits in.
Yeah. It's nice to look at, man. Yeah. It's just whatever. It's a pretty product.
I know. And it's
good.
Well, no, and the whole thing is, it's because, it's formatted in that way. And again, for any of you guys that are watching this, you can download it. It's on the website. I'll put a link down below. But really, one of the big things is that I print these out myself. And I told you to do this. I told everyone to do it. And when we're doing a campaign, if you ever watched,
I've got one right there on the wall.
I have one right over here too. But one of the things is you print it out and you can actually see it. And the first time that we walked through the fear, struggle, roadblock, solution paradigm. I mean, which is part of the avatar process. But what happened when we first walked through that?
I have walked through similar type stuff,
right?
But
of course,
it's
not my own stuff. I mean, it's out there.
I'm not saying that. It's just it was more geared towards copywriting, right. And so it was still very salesy. Right. This brought me through a process where I felt like, that's who I'm the guy who will use this process, because it's so disarming, and it gives me incredible insight.
Right.
So I get insight into my clients. I get insight into how I'm working. I get insight into mistakes I'm making, where I can change. And then once I'm done with all of that insight, I can take and use that same process for my copy, and it doesn't sound like every other copy course I've taken. And if you don't do anything about it, you're gonna die.
But wait, there's more.
Right? Yeah. And
and that's literally what it is. I mean, for anyone that's watching this that doesn't understand or hasn't been aware of this, there's a paradigm in psychology. A paradigm is basically a sort of a general overall understanding or way of operating, where when it comes to your life, when it comes to changing your life, or honestly, advertising, marketing, any of those things, what it comes down to is, if you take a problem, and we all have problems, some big, some small, but you break that down, because everybody buys one thing in this world, right? They buy solution.
Yep.
And that's something that, again,
every time.
It's always in there. And so if we break it down and we have, the problem is actually caused by a fear, and that fear manifests itself as a struggle, and the struggle ends up physically manifesting in our lives as a roadblock Well, then what happens, Brad?
You offer a solution. You tell your story, or I tell my story, and connect with their story.
Right.
But the reality is, I mean, here's why this works for me, because that's why I got into coaching, because I have a story. It's a real story. Yeah. I'm a real guy that you reach out and touch. I'm not a corporation trying to sell. This is what happened to me. I went through these things and I found the solutions. I got past the roadblocks. Yeah. And I want to help somebody else do the exact same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
that's why that
and I mean, for you, it's coaching. And
yep.
I remember back when the first time we were going through, actually the second time we were going through it, because the first time you did what everybody else does.
Yep.
Is you did it as yourself.
Yep.
And everyone does that, even though I tell them not to, because that's human nature. But the second time I went through it, and then I actually gave you the homework, I said, no, now do this for every one of the people that you've wanted to work with and the ones that you don't like.
Yep.
And we created these virtual personas. And what happened, I remember you go, these are like aha moments of like, oh, that's why this person came to me. And one of the things that we found with you is that all of the men had come to you, the men that you work with, not the women, the men, came to you with one identified issue.
Yeah.
But in fact, wanted to fix something else.
Something else. Yeah. It's always that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the insight that I got right from that allowed me to know who I'm focusing on. Right. And that I've got to, in business speak, I've got to be targeting, I have to have advertisements that are just for men.
Right.
It doesn't mean I don't take on female clients.
And not just for men. I mean, one of your campaigns, the one that we're writing right now, is for a specific guy in a specific point in his life with a specific type of family situation.
Yep.
Specific, I mean, and it's that granularity. And
you don't get that with the one-dimensional thing.
No.
I didn't know, but now I'm like, okay. So when I actually go into my advertising tools to start building out who is this for, I know.
Yeah.
I don't have to wonder, I wonder what kind of car they drive. I wonder what kind of house they have. I wonder I know all that stuff.
Right.
For people I haven't met. And all I want to do is get my advertisement in front of them, because, and I'm sure if people own business for a while, they understand this. The only thing worse than having no clients is having the wrong client.
Right.
And it just,
I told it, dude. Yeah.
And I'm like, I am a nice person, but it's like, I want to get the difference between spending a 45-minute session coaching someone who doesn't really want to be there, or who wants to be there but doesn't really want to do the work it takes to have the kind of life they want. And then with one of my ideal clients, I walk away from my session with an ideal client and I'm yelling out stupid stuff in my house. Like, I'm the greatest coach ever.
Right.
Because I get so much energy from working with the right kind of people.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I get to decide who I work with because I'm my own boss. I only want to target those people, and anyone who might, with the system we're building out, it's going to weed out almost all of those. And anyone else who filters through somehow, I can still weed them out at the end and work with the people I want to work with. And before, I just thought it was all chance. And now working with you, it's like, everything. No, I've got all the control that I want to have.
Right.
To pick my clients.
Right.
So and I wouldn't, if you told me that last year, I would have been like, oh yeah, I can see how that must be how people who are really great at business do it. If you would have told me 2 years ago, I would have been like, that's total BS. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And it shows you how much I didn't know. But now it's like, yeah, this gives me total control over who I hire or who I hire.
Oh, dude, I love hearing that, because, think about this too. So right now, Brad and I are working on a new campaign for him that is sort of expanding out what we had done originally, because baby steps, walk before you run. But so this new one, because now that we've been, really working one-on-one, on the copywriting side of this, and and creating the lead funnels and this and that. And I think one of the things I always want to show anyone that works with myself and my team, whether agency side or like this, on the coaching side, is it doesn't cost as much as you think to make things work. It's not cheap, it's not free, but there's a lot of ways around some of these tools, some of these systems, some of these methodologies that really you can cut what it costs you to run this stuff.
Yeah.
If what you're actually running for content is high quality.
Yeah. Well, and it lets me put more money into advertising.
Right.
As opposed to into the tools it takes to do the advertising. And it's like, I've got a bunch of these sheets right here, like papers like this. I don't know if you can see it because
I can see it.
Lighting or whatever, got them here and here of our sessions, taking notes, and most of all, it's like, okay, this is that tool for that. This is, the amount of tools that you've introduced me to, it blows my mind. I won't say, but just to be able to see my funnel in more of a mind map, as opposed to hidden behind code in the tool I was using before. It's all the difference. So I can go, oh, that's my funnel. Right. That's what it looks like. It includes all of my email. It includes all of my copy. It includes all of the actions, all the call to actions, all the triggers, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's just well worth it, man. And at some point I'm going to have to transcribe these notes and just put them into a document so I have all my tools right there. Right now they're all saved bookmarks.
Well, I send you all the recordings. Every one of our sessions is recorded. So,
yep.
But no, it's one of those things where, Brad, I don't want to keep you. We're coming up right on 30 minutes, which I didn't realize. And this is one of the things that happens is, we schedule 1 hour sessions, and that's how it works. And we end up being, an hour and 45 minutes into it, not because first off, I don't work off a clock. It's not like, oh, well, that's what it is. If we're working on something and we're going through it, we're going to work until we hit a point that's a natural break point.
Nobody appreciates that more than me.
Yeah.
But we're accomplishing stuff.
Yeah.
I'm learning,
right.
But as I'm learning, basically I'm getting exactly what it is I want in my advertising, in my scripts, or copywriting, and in my funnel. And you keep me from going off a cliff.
Right.
Yeah. No, I know you want to say that. Don't say that. Yeah. Say this instead.
This sounds like you're a dong. Well, this one sounds great.
Yeah. Well, part of it is. You help me filter out the junk and the good stuff from everything else that I have just poured into my head. And you're like, yeah, here's why you don't want to use that. Here's why you want to use this. And that is secondary to here's how we do it, just the primary information. Right. And for anyone who's trying to find what is my voice in copy, like my voice. Yeah. It's been perfect. Like our sessions on copywriting, I'm like, oh God, yeah, that sounds so much better. Why does that sound so good to me? And you're like, because that is what you would say. And I'm like, that is exactly what I would say. Yeah. So that's helpful. That alone has been worth everything I've invested.
Yeah. Well, I remember the other day when we first started working on this, and we were editing out. Well, basically, it was this. We were going through the exact same thing that everybody that writes anything ever goes through. Yeah. They don't write like they speak.
Yeah. Yep.
And we were working through that, and I think you had gone to the bathroom, and I had recorded something. I typed it out, and you didn't realize I was reading it.
Right.
And because the voice was there.
Well, I was using your shared screen. It was right in front of me.
Right.
But you're like, tell me how this sounds. And I didn't realize that right after you said, tell me how this sounds, that you were reading what you were written. And I was like, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I agree. And then I looked at the screen. I'm like, oh, he's totally reading that right now. Yeah. That's how much it sounded like a conversation.
Right.
Which is what I want my copy to sound like.
Right. And so and again, one of the things, that obviously not everyone that watches this will be aware of what it is, but as you've been crafting the new soap opera story, for your campaign, it reads like they are talking to you.
Yeah.
And that patterning is, we did a little bit in the first campaign, and and you saw what happened. How long was it from? Was it? I think you said it was 2 weeks or so from when we ran it to when you had made everything you had paid me.
Yep.
Was back, and then
yeah. Yep. And it'll continue to be that way. I mean, I'm certain it will continue to be that way because the analytics just don't lie.
Right, numbers are numbers. Data doesn't lie. Yep. And but so with this new one, I mean, it's sort of this is the voice is there and the voice is yours, and I can't wait to launch this next campaign with you because
I can't either.
I'm excited to see how it connects and how it compares because I didn't want to force you into making all these massive changes because you've made the mindset changes already.
Yeah.
And I can be blunt. It can be
and I can handle blunt.
Very blunt.
Yep.
But I didn't want to, break you, Drago style. Like I will break you. But I also wanted to, show you that transition, show you how as we recrafted what you already had, literally. What was the content? Where'd it come from?
Content for the lead magnet?
Yeah.
Came from something I had created years ago.
Yeah.
And still use. And
like a blog post or something, right?
Yeah. It was in a blog post. And I had used that. It was a downloadable PDF guide. It started as a blog post on my own like 2 years ago, and it's where I got the most influx for my email list.
Right.
Came from that piece. But when I went back and looked at it after doing our work together or starting our work together, I was like, I have to change so much in this. So I just went through the process with you, got it back to you, and you're like, okay, this is what we're going to change. And I remember it was like, crap, man, there is going to be a lot of work. And I don't know why in my mind I thought, I'll just take this old tool and repurpose it and that'll be easy. But all of a sudden it didn't matter because I was like, this work is going to be more than worth it. I'm going to make back so much more, have such a larger impact. So yeah, it was this morning ritual guide that I had done.
By the way, guys, awesome. You've got to check it out. Obviously, Brad, I'm gonna put your Facebook stuff down below so they can come and see you.
Yeah.
But literally, I mean, we took like a 2-page download and a blog post, and it's like, how long is it now? Like 40 pages?
40 pages, yeah. And but the software, that the site you took me to, and like use this, plug all of it into that, then you can push it around and play. It was really simple.
Yeah.
And the work was just. The real work was me learning how do I do this even better than I had done before. And it's 10 times better. And it was really good when it started.
No, it was awesome when it started, but now it's targeted. And that's and you're seeing that. I mean, it's it's something that literally, if it was maybe 50 pages longer, could be a book that someone would buy.
Right.
Like actually buy the book. I know that we've actually talked about that. Okay, so I want to wrap it up here because I don't want to take more of your time. It's a Friday, guys, when we're recording this. But my last question for you, well, two. One, what has been your biggest takeaway in working with me and Big Idea?
Oh, that's a good question. You're gonna have to let me think about that.
So far, by the way. So far.
Yeah, so far. Your ability to help me get what I want, and at the same time help me realize maybe there's some even better things you could want from the business side of what you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So that for me, that's huge. And I think maybe piggybacked right on top of that. I had taken all these courses. How
much had you spent on courses?
Oh God, I don't.
Ballpark it.
I could pull it up and look.
I don't want to depress you, but ballpark it.
15,000.
Okay.
Yeah, 15,000. So, which for me, is like, I don't want to just part with that money. I only invest if I feel like I'm going to get an ROI. Right. But I had not making that money back yet.
As far as those.
As far as those courses go, right. Yeah.
As in, you invested money.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they suck. They were all good courses.
Right.
But, and this is the piggyback, to be able to sit down with somebody who, I don't know if you took all those courses or you just know your shit so well and been doing it for so long that you're like, yeah, I know where that came from. Yeah, I know where that came from. I know what you're trying to do there. But to sit down and walk through with somebody so I can ask the question that I felt like I should have been able to get this from the person I bought this from, but I couldn't because that service wasn't offered.
Yeah, no,
that's been huge to just be like, okay, but Brian, let me stop you right there. Why are we doing it this way?
Right.
It's invaluable for me because that's how I learn. I learn that way.
Yeah, and that's really the power of investing in proper coaching, not again. And I think this is the takeaway from a lot of this conversation is courses are great, but the issue with courses is that it's sort of you buy it and you deal with it situation, and yes, the courses are definitely cheaper than working as we do.
Yep.
But in the difference being here is that you get a mentor. That's the difference.
It's just, you have courses, I have courses.
Right.
They are great, but it's like people will ask me, well, why should I hire a coach when all this information is out there? And my response is, if all the information is out there, why haven't you changed yet?
Yeah. Right.
Why haven't you gotten the thing you wanted to get or get past the struggles that you have?
Right. And why hasn't your business gone?
Right.
And you know me. I mean, look, I'm a nuts and bolts guy.
Yep.
On the absolute. I am data. And then the psychology behind the data.
Yep.
But I don't care if you feel good. I care about if you're successful.
Yeah.
And with if I'm taking time to work with somebody to it's the teach a man to fish, give a man a fish. Well, if you teach them, they're going to be there, and that's why I do it and I enjoy it. But to be able to watch the transformation over time, to be able to watch how I can see somebody's business literally transform by applying statistically relevant, data-driven methods and tactics in such a manner that there is an accountability.
Yeah.
You talk about accountability on your side all the time, but the accountability, the trackability, and the actual ROI, the fact that I put in X and I got Y, and I think that's what you were saying before, where you spent $15,000 on courses, but you haven't made $15,000 back from those courses.
Yep.
Whereas, you invested a third of that with me and you're up 6 times that. I mean, that's the difference.
Yep.
And that's why I think it works. So, yeah. Any final thoughts?
No, man. I mean, I look forward to finishing this campaign and then the next one.
Yeah.
And then, and I realize the more we work together, the more that gives you space to say, okay, let me expand you a little bit more.
Right. Exactly. It's I pushed the door open and now it's open. Now we're going to remodel that crap.
Yeah. So it's whatever. I mean, I don't do what I do to make money. I do it because I love doing it. I would be doing it anyways.
Right.
But if I want to do it, I might as well.
Why not be successful at it?
Yeah, and some of the psychology behind it too is, I always have some clients that I do at a supremely low discounted rate, or for nothing.
Yeah.
Whatever, if I can handle it in my workload, I want to do it. But I'm rarely, and there are some exceptions, rarely does someone get out of what they're doing if they don't have much skin in the game.
Right.
And so whatever. It's like,
that's it.
I've got 2 daughters and I want to like my life. I want to provide for them. I want to be able to give back and I want to be able to go where I love to travel.
Yeah.
I had my business before. It gave me the freedom to travel. It was always tied to work because I could, justify that expense.
Right.
Now I get to this is not related to work at all. I'm just going to go because I've got the freedom to go because I've got the money. So whatever.
And that's it. All right.
Yeah.
Dude, listen, I'm going to let you go because we're doing what we always do. We're 40 minutes into this. Brad, listen, I want to thank you for the time.
Absolutely.
Do your homework, by the way. It is the weekend, but do your homework.
Yes,
and
I've got
and
hours
listen,
slated tomorrow.
and listen, guys, it's Bradley Grinnan. Plug yourself real quick.
BradleyGrinnan.com, BradleyGrinnen, and I help people enjoy their life more and get the most leverage out of it that they possibly can.
So, guys, check them out. Links down below. Listen, Brad, thanks, and I will talk to you next week, man.
All right, sounds good, brother. Appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Thanks.
Yep.